Hi, I'm Joshua Curving, and welcome to another Death Battle prediction video, but first, Season 7. Overall, the season was a bit of a mixed bag. There were quite a few good episodes, like Goro versus Machamp, Kakashi versus Obi-Wan, but there were, for every good one, there was a bad one as well. I would say about half of the season fell on a little bit on the poor side, which is slightly understandable considering how they're setting up the next season. The next season is being treated as a big deal where all the cool fights are going. So it's somewhat reasonable that this season kind of gets a little bit left by the wayside. I'm sure if next season was a totally normal season, then some of the really hype fights that they have planned would just get moved to this season. So I'm not too critical on that. It's just kind of something that happens when you're planning a season like that. As for specifically Hulk versus Broly, I still think it's wrong. End of the day, there were a few feats that they didn't count for Hulk that would have fairly easily netted him the win. And their example of when Hawkeye killed him and he stayed dead for a while, I don't think he had the green door at the time for that, so it's a bit of a false equivalency, so nah. But it happens, and I wasn't particularly invested in the fight anyway, so let's get off my back. And the animation, so the song was really fucking good. I really like Ikari as a battle theme. Not for this fight, though. It didn't fit very well. And overall, this fight in general was kind of, wasn't the hugest fan of it. It kind of dragged when it came to, like, the latter half of the fight, because it was kind of just flying through space and explosions. It just turned into a Michael Bay film. And even the choreography at the start wasn't too great. Like, back when we were getting Hulk versus Doomsday, this is kind of what I thought we were going to get, but then I ended up getting blown away because Hulk versus Doomsday is a phenomenal fight. And conversely, you have Hulk versus Doomsday with one of the greatest kills in Death Battle, and this one with damn near one of the worst. They literally headbutt each other repeatedly until the screen just fades to white. Oh, sorry, Hulk is dead. It felt like there was a removed scene or something. Or it was missing the Ed and Eddie sound effects. Because it just really did not work as a final blow for this. It felt limp and pointless when there could have been something so much more for it. Overall, won't really hang on too much on those. So we'll hop right into the first episode of Season 8, which is going to be Yoda versus King Mickey, which is a very pleasant surprise of an episode. It's kind of interesting to see that they are distinctly treating Mickey and King Mickey as two very different characters. Seems pretty likely that they will not be using Kingdom Hearts stuff then when they're using normal Mickey. But for the sake of just this fight, it's going to be quite interesting to see what they pull from. The last time they used Kingdom Hearts stats, they did not really do the series great justice. What I think they had like Sora at like maybe island level or something. So this is where it's going to be interesting to see all of the like planetary and potentially up to universal level feats coming into play, as well as being like massively faster than light. It's going to be interesting, especially because the last time we saw Star Wars, they did give them their higher feats from Legends. So it's going to be neat. The animation preview that we've seen so far looks okay. We only saw a very short amount of it, but it stands to reason it should be alright. My one fear is that the arena is very small. and might not allow for very much interesting things to happen, but they could very well have a transition to another area. As for the results of the fight itself, like I said, it is largely going to come down to what they believe for both characters. If they go into the more generous stuff for Kingdom Hearts, which would essentially be either Universal King Mickey along with the massively faster than light feats from Roxas, then I think King Mickey has basically just too fast, and he's comparably strong, or if he's Universal, he's way stronger. So he would just essentially one-shot and speed blitz. If they bring him down a bit to the higher end feats, then he would be, I think, large planet level. Xehanort does have a feat in Kingdom Hearts 3 where he, like, yeets a moon, basically, and it got calculated to about large planet level, which I think is actually above the Urael Poof, which is still a hilarious name. So the feat from Kakashi versus Obi-Wan, where the Jedi held together a planet, I think it is superior to that as well. So in that case, then we would essentially be dealing with both of them being somewhat comparable in power, but King Mickey being a lot faster. So then it would make sense to compare their it would make sense to compare their magic sources. For Yoda, you have the Force, which has a lot of things that it can do. It can do some healing, it can do telekinesis pretty consistently, mental effects, it can, some people can do various things. There are some powers that are more Sith-oriented than Jedi, so it's unlikely that if a Sith uses a power, that Yoda would be able to use it. Other than, like, generic force pushing and things like that. So then you kind of go over to King Mickey, and you see a lot more versatility. He can, like, bolster his attacks with light. He can stop time. He has, like, Ultima, which is just massively powerful. And he has a lot more consistent healing. Like, that can heal a lot more and more quickly. So I definitely see that playing into Mickey's favor a lot. Even if he didn't already have massive advantages, if Yoda had a big speed advantage over him, a time stop is certainly something that would even that out. But he already has the speed advantage. So I don't really see Yoda pulling this one off. This is definitely one of those cases where one of the characters has some hacks and a physical disadvantage, and the other character just has, like, everything you can do, I can do better. Which is basically just how this fight kind of comes down. Other than that, I don't have too much to add on this one. It'll just be interesting to see where they place both of these characters. As for the rest of the season, they did post the teasers for certain characters, so it's kind of interesting to go through those and see what we're likely to get for the rest of the season. So we know Yoda versus King Mickey is the first one. There was also Ryuko from Kill la Kill. Now, I pray to God it is not Ryuko versus Shadow, because that's a really shit fight. There's not a whole ton of good fights for Ryuko, though, as it is. I would say that the best one is probably Ryuko versus Cutie Honey, which is a pretty old anime series. It's the same kind of, like, I guess, deconstruction on a magical girl type deal. It's made by the same people who made, like, the Devilman series. And if I recall correctly, it's actually decently close. So I think that is probably the best fight for Ryuko, but we're probably getting Shadow, which is shit. Then there was a Steven Universe character. We technically only saw the truck, so we don't know if it's necessarily Steven. But if it is, that's probably Steven Universe versus Star Butterfly. It's a good time for that one. Both series have basically ended. Whew. Sorry. Both series have basically ended, and that one's always been a really popular request. It could also just be any of the Crystal Gems. But I'm more leaning on it being Steven versus Star. Then you have Cloud, probably versus Link, which I really dislike. Both of them have way more thematic opponents, and the only reason people actually want the rematch is because the fight was wrong originally. And especially because Cloud doesn't actually suffer for the rematch. Cloud gets more because their methods with weaponry and stuff like that will have drastically changed. So Cloud will get access to more stuff, while a composite Link is a thing that doesn't really work in modern death battles. So they would have to use a specific version of Link, which means they would probably either go with the one that had a rivalry with FF7, which is Ocarina of Time, or the most up-to-date one, which is Breath of the Wild. And to be fair, not even a composite Link is even remotely close to Cloud, so unfortunate. I really don't want that episode, but we're probably getting it. So next would be Dr. Doom. A lot of people were very shocked to see that he was coming back in what's considered a very major prolific season of Mado fights that people have been requesting, and because no one really requests Dr. Doom anymore. He had his fight against Darth Vader, and that was a thing. The most people are thinking is potentially Gilgamesh from Fate. I could see that, and it could be neat, but if you've watched my Most Wanted Death Battles video, you'll know that I actually want a different fight for Fate's Gilgamesh. And, yeah, I would be a little bit sad to see that the other one be used, but it's still decent. And the last one was... what was it again? There was... Ryuko, Yoda... oh, right, Attack on Titan. So, it was not confirmed to be Mikasa. Technically, the clip itself is actually Annie from Attack on Titan, but I highly doubt that's actually what they're going with. It's more likely just to indicate Attack on Titan. And, yeah, if it's Mikasa, it's probably going to be against Blake, especially given the Attack on Titan manga, I think just ended, like, within the last few days. So I'm curious as to what they're going to include, if they're going to use stuff that's, like, that recent. Will be interesting to see, and I think as it stands, Mikasa probably gets clapped, but who knows. Yeah, so that's the 6 fights that we were teased on. Could very well be different ones. Death Battle's been known to throw curveballs at us from time to time. I do look forward to seeing what those fights are. Alright, and I will see you guys when the next one gets announced. Have yourselves a good one.